Hello, everyone. Great to see you, Joe and Jack, as always. We're talking men's health today on the House of Wellness, and I have to admit to feeling a little bit one out. No Dr. Nick Carr with us today.
Well, we are without Dr. Nick, but I honestly believe you'll be fine without him because you are such a great example of someone who cares for himself. And it's so important that all men do. And sad to say that so often it's the women behind the men pushing them to care for their health.
Look, we do nag. Well, I nag, but it comes from a good place. And today we're going to meet some amazing men who've used their own initiative without any female intervention to tackle some really significant life-changing events.
Yeah, like Aussie surfer Tim Baker, who's managed to stare down prostate cancer.
And Ty Kennelly, who's on a mission to connect men socially.
Forget hot yoga, that is so 2022. Luke Hines works up a sweat with hot Pilates.
And the inspirational junior sport program, Learning Life Through Sport, that's helping to teach respect on the field and in life in general.
But we start the show with a bang by stepping into the minefield of modern dating. And I have to say, things have changed a lot since I was single.
Yes, it's been a while for me too. But you know what? I think men nowadays, I think it's actually better. I think they're more respectful. I think they're more in touch with their emotions. And I think they're more considerate of their romantic partners.
I could not agree more, Jack. And I often say, if Beck chooses to leave me, Joe, I'm in all sorts of trouble because there are a lot more do's and don'ts when it comes to relationships, which is why we turn to the Aussie experts who literally wrote the manual on modern dating.
Guys, I feel like back in my early years of dating, it was much simpler. We'd exchange numbers, we'd go for a coffee and kind of take it from there. But these days, it's a whole different ballgame. What does modern dating look like right now?
It's a minefield.
No, that's all right. I think we're both about to go with it.
No, I'll go first. I mean, the digital space has transformed. It's got extremely complicated. You have your apps, you have the workplace now is a place where people find potential partners. And then you also do very rarely have your old school meeting in person, I guess. It still happens. I don't know if that still happens. I didn't even know the words to get around it. But, you know, the approach to dating across the board it's a lot less meaningful than it used to be. There are plus sides to that. Those that were timid in their approach now are able to hide behind a screen, but it does provide others with a scattergun approach. So,
yeah, and I think there's a lot of general kind of push and pressure in society at the moment for sort of things to be perfect, you know, and to kind of nail down that perfect thing and perfect partner in this case. And dating apps have kind of made that a lot easier in terms of swiping on to the next or moving on quite quickly. A lot of guys deep down are kind of wanting and searching for that deeper connection. And so I think it's realizing that sort of what we might be doing in terms of behaviour with dating and how we're treating other people and how communication and connection is maybe happening on more of a surface level, maybe isn't ultimately bringing around what a lot of guys want. And I think that's where it can eventually get to the point where it does backfire, because a lot of guys are sort of feeling quite lonely, feeling like those connections, even in the dating and romantic world, are quite superficial or surface level. So yeah, I think it's getting in touch with what you actually want and lining that up with your behaviour in the dating world where things can change.
Why do people ghost then? If it's so important to be open and communicate, ghosting's huge.
I think people are scared of hard conversations, and you know, this is something that through the book we're trying to encourage is people to be open and vulnerable and honest and unafraid of those conversations. Quite often we don't want to be the person that rejects someone else and inflict that feeling of rejection on someone else. However, ghosting provides no answer. It provides no context. It leaves the ghosted open to a world of interpretation. And we all know the interpretation is never the most positive aspect. It's a spiral, and you don't have to be completely devastating in your feedback if you don't see the relationship moving forward. It's just a simple, I'm looking for different things, or we have different interests.
Learn the art of the ultimate compliment sandwich. I think you're fantastic. I've had a great time, but there's dog hair all over your house, and I'm really busy with work. I wish you luck.
Yeah, you forgot the other compliment.
But you're also
you have great houseplants.
But your dog's also cute, and your houseplants are great. No one loves it, but it's inevitable. Heartbreak. You've actually talked about some research where when we have our hearts broken, we can actually feel physical pain.
Yeah, the research shows that ending relationships can manifest themselves in the same way that a physical injury can. So, I mean, therefore, you've got to treat yourself with that same care that you would as if you injured yourself at the gym, you know. Take some time, rest, recover, eat well, sleep well, you know, or try and sleep well, but don't fight it off and don't ignore the pain, because our body is responding in the same way. It's repairing.
And do you think in 2023 there's room for still going up to someone and giving them your number on a bit of paper?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's like the whole Renaissance vibe. It's, you know, bring those more traditional things back.
Listening to that makes me even more grateful to be happily married to Beck, to be honest with you. Now, can I ask you two the question? Are you allowed to open a door for a woman still, or can you buy a woman a drink? Where do we sit on all that? I'm confused.
I don't know. I never say no to a drink, Dust. You know that. You know that.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on dating apps, right? Because I've heard horror stories from some of my girlfriends, but then I have friends, they've met the love of their life on those dating apps.
Same, but what do you do, like with the old dinner date? Do you pay? Do you not pay? Is it offensive if you offer to pay? It's a minefield.
It is enough to make you break out into a sweat, Jack, which is exactly what Luke Hines is doing when he tries the hot new fitness trend that brings the burn.
I'm not an exercise junkie, but I do love fitness. The buzz, the emotional and physical release, and I'm not going to lie, the results too. But there's one type of exercise I keep coming back to because it's what I call a quiet achiever. If you are looking for a full body workout that improves muscle tone, flexibility and strength, then there's only one word: Pilates. Only this time, I'm turning the heat right up.
Couple more jars like this. So we're starting to feel warmth through the back line of the body, through your glutes, your hamstrings.
Carney, what is Mat Pilates?
Mat Pilates is a system of exercises that is there to strengthen the body, alignment, physical movement, everything.
But you seem to do things a little bit different here. You do very hot Mat Pilates. Please explain.
Absolutely. So it's a typical Pilates class with a little bit of spin on it. So obviously we work in the heat. Bring your heels down. So we set it at 37 degrees at an infrared heat as well.
How does that work when we are exercising? Because when I train, I'm already getting pretty warm. So what are the benefits of going even hotter?
So purification is one of the bigger benefits. So you're cleansing the body when you sweat a little bit, and also keeps your focus. When you're warm, you're really concentrating on the movement as well. Should be feeling that little burn through the lower abdominals. Hover and hold. Maybe come up 1 inch higher.
When I think about going to the gym, it's about lifting weights. And if I think cardio, maybe going for a run, what am I doing to my body in Pilates?
We're conditioning. Pilates is all about conditioning. So finding that right position to move your body. So we always want to make sure that we're moving with control and purpose. And that's where the core, the obliques, the abdominals, the lower abs, everything kicks in because it's all interlinked. Go for another 5 seconds, coming back into that crunch for the last time. Also time under tension, so we might work with an exercise that might be a longer period of time, working for 50 seconds, for example, really fatiguing the muscle group, but also to supersetting the muscles is what we really pride ourselves on in our programming of our classes. Lift all the way up to the top, lengthen through your spine, and then tuck, peel through that pelvis, roll, roll. Feet stay connected, you've got this. Woo! Get that shake in the belly, get that burn, stay with it, tuck, peel, roll, use the breath. The sweating is great, the endorphins are great. What I find working in the heated room, you work at a slower pace. So you take it a little slower, so maybe rather it's more quality over quantity in the movement. So thinking about that glute, yeah, you'll be feeling that little fatigue set in. That leg starts to feel a little heavier than it was when I first walked into class.
Is there any risk to working out in this level of heat?
Not at all. We encourage you to work slower. In fact, you do work slower in the heat. You slow the pace down, and that is where you find you can activate and encourage that slower pace movement. It's a slow burn. We'll start slow, but then you'll get this rush of endorphins and feeling amazing, and you will just push and challenge. And I think the class environment, everyone working together, that community, that mind-body connection will really come out. Lucky last 2. We're going to stay down. We're moving on.
How am I going to feel when I walk out of here today?
Super sweaty, super amazing, super powerful, and you're going to be addicted. Our last 15 seconds, here it is. Press. You're done in 5, in 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well done. How was that?
I feel amazing.
High five.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
My goodness. Just when you think you've got your health and fitness sorted, something comes out that really pushes your body and your mind to another level. What I love about this is that it's suitable for any age and fitness level because you are the driver of the class. You've got people around you giving contagious energy. You've got the heat coming from the roof, but inside you've got a fire in your belly that reminds you that anything is possible if you set your mind to it. Little bit curious? Turn up the heat and give it a go yourself.
There has been a great shift in focus in recent times towards men's mental health and not just our physical health. And I often, when we have these conversations, Joe and Jack, think about our great friend Gus Worland, who's done a brilliant job in shining a light in this particular area. He's worked with the Gotcha for Life Foundation and understanding that connection and friendship plays a really important role.
Oh, it is so important to talk about these things, Darcy. You know, I was really saddened to learn that loneliness is on the rise in Australia, especially for middle-aged men. And 43% of men across all ages report feeling lonely.
It's interesting. Loneliness isn't about just not having any friends or not wanting to spend time by yourself. It's more about that feeling of disconnection and isolation.
Yeah, Jack, as Joe said, it's that middle age period for men, often 35 to 49, where it's change of life. You've had kids, you're going through some people a separation or a divorce, and loneliness really tends to kick in at that time. And we know that traditionally us blokes, we're not great at hanging on to old friendships and keeping those connections going.
Yeah, and, you know, Darcy, it's no secret that women make great connections with other women, but also men find it harder to make new friends as they get older, especially in retirement.
Joe, that's exactly right. And AFL legend Ty Keneally from the Sydney Swans, a premiership player, was going through some challenging times, and it was his connection to an old friend that really helped him get through. And on the back of that, Ty's been inspired to start the Sunrise Catch-Up Group, which is helping men with loneliness, even when others aren't watching.
All right, so what we'll do this morning, we'll just go for a quick trot around the surf club, get warmed up, and then we'll come here, do a bodyweight circuit for probably 10, 15 minutes and then in and out of the water. All right, but we can go to the pub, and I've gone to the pub with my friends, and I've spent 4 or 5 hours with a mate, and I'd get home and my wife would say, "How's Mick?" And I'd say, "I don't know, we just talked about sport." My wife would go for a coffee for 20 minutes with a friend. She'd come back and tell me her life story. We're just not great at sharing. I won't be doing it today. I've my knee playing soccer on Sunday, so I'll be shouting at you. All right, let's go. What I find really disheartening since we've started WNO is the fact that there's 6 million people in Sydney and you can be alone.
I know.
And it's really something that drives me now to connect me in. WNO is not an exercise group. It's a group we're just trying to connect them in. And we feed them the broccoli without them understanding they're eating the broccoli. And what I mean is we do exercise and they feel good. Obviously, we know the results of doing exercise and how good it is for your mental state. But these guys come down, they do some exercise, we get in the water, we have a share. We always do the purpose why we come down. We do 60 push-ups for the 60 men that commit suicide around the world every hour.
Yep.
And then we talk about it, which brings us back to our why. But it's the connected piece and having the coffee and the stories and the shares that you get from men that are really driving me and driving David and I to make this. It's so simple. Yeah. Come down, do some exercise, get in the water, have a coffee, have a chat, and that's it. Let's go!
Obviously, COVID was a pretty average time for all of us, and you were working as an assistant coach with the Swans. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was probably back to where the whole thing started. It was the first time really of a young family, a young man, and I'd lost my job during COVID. You know, my ego took a hit. I didn't want to go outside. I knew people every time I met someone who was saying, "Oh, are you okay?" And you know, it was a bit about poor me, and I kind of had that mantra in my head, and I didn't want to go outside the front door of the house, and it led me to a pretty dark place mentally. It was very challenging for my wife and my kids, but I certainly just. It was true. A friend of mine, David, said, "Do you want to just catch up, man? How you going?" He just checked in with me, really.
the role I played was the role of a friend, I think. I could see that Tadhg was going through some challenges, as was I. So it was more just to reach out to a friend, say, should we go down the beach, do a little bit of training, have a coffee and continue the conversation?
I said no a couple of times, and he ended up just basically knocking on the door and dragging.
You like friends like that?
Yeah, it's great. Dragging me out of the door and said, "Come on, man." And so we went for a walk and had a coffee, and he said, "Oh, what are you doing tomorrow?" And we did some exercise, and then the program started from, well, if I'm feeling like this, and what you've done in the shift in me mentally from just having a chat and doing some exercise. I said, okay, next week, let's invite a friend down. You invite someone and I'll invite someone. And it just grew organically from that.
Holland, Doyle the tap to Jude Bolton to Kennelly. Here come the Swans. Ty Kennelly's had one bounce. He runs to 55. He loads up. Ty Kennelly has kicked the beauty.
The origins of WNIR, from what I've seen, is we idolise the sportsmen that are on their TV screens on a Friday night and Saturday night, and we see them as being bulletproof and faultless. When somebody like Tadhg comes down and openly shares his story about what he's going through in life, positive and negative, and just the everyday struggles and joys of life, that gives everybody else permission to speak. So I think it just takes a few brave men to be able to stand up, say, you know what, I'm going to drop my body armour, I'm going to be vulnerable and share my story. That resonates with somebody else, and then it's like a domino effect.
As a young man, and when you are at the peak of your career, often there is that perception you've got to be bulletproof. How easy is it to actually show weakness?
Yeah, well, you brought up to not show it, and certainly playing at the elite level, you're not to show any weakness. It's you've got your ego, but also it's to not show the opposition any weakness in yourself. And I think that feeds a lot of, not a healthy mindset around when you finish sport, because I played sport when I had to be the man and I had to front up and, nothing's wrong with me, I'm bulletproof, and that's who I am. And, I did that for the bones of 20 years. And it wasn't great for me, because I'd get out of the football club and I'd get into the car and I'd get home and I'd go, oh, thank God. And I was very, very good at masking, and I still am. It's just something that I'm continuing to work on. That even as much as this morning, I wasn't feeling great this morning. Waking up was like, oh, do I have to go down and do this? Okay, I'll front up and I'll put on a mask, But I came down this morning here and I said to the group, God, I wasn't feeling great. And me just saying that, I actually felt a weight coming off my shoulders. But as a footballer in an elite environment, I never had the opportunity to say that, because I was thought it's not good for you. You're not showing opposition any weakness whatsoever in who you are as a footballer.
2 more, boys, 2 more.
Do you think that most of us in life, or obviously particularly men, that we come with this sort of perception, this body armour, and it's hard to then take it off?
We've been conditioned for our fathers were the same, so Tadhg and I share the same. We both come from Ireland, but both of our fathers were our heroes, But our fathers aren't our role models either. So both of our fathers have passed now, and they're our absolute heroes. They were the pillars of the community back home, but they could never share their emotions with us. They were never really hands-on as fathers either. So I think we've been conditioned in the past, and we're trying to break that for the future.
So what we'll do is we'll do 3 burpees to start. Down to the water, just get under the water, come back up, okay? If you can go for 4 or 5, go for 4 or 5. Or if you want to walk up and down, okay? So something yourself. This is generational, we got to understand. For a long, long time, men have been told, to suck it up, and the breadwinner and all this crap that you have to, and you can't show your emotions and your feelings. And the more we reward it in society, the better it's going to be for everyone. The concerning bit for me with mental health is there's not a whole lot going on in the coalface that's free and it's available for anyone in the country to come and do. And that's why the part of it, I was very conscious, and David, around having it be free. Come down, it doesn't matter, it doesn't discriminate. Mental health doesn't discriminate whether you're a CEO or you're whatever you are, it doesn't. So, and that's very much part of WNO.
Like many inner workings of the body, we often don't think about our bones until something goes wrong. But we need strong, healthy bones at every stage of our life. They help us move, they provide structure and support for the body, they protect vital organs, but they also act as a storage site for essential minerals. Thankfully, caring for bones is as simple as knowing what nutrients to look for, 2 of them being calcium and vitamin D. We all know dietary calcium, as sourced mostly from dairy products and green leafy vegetables. It's essential for building and maintaining healthy bones through supporting bone density and strength. But to help the body absorb calcium, we also need vitamin D. Often referred to as the sunshine vitamin, vitamin D is produced within the skin when exposed to the sun. It's no surprise then that vitamin D is one of the most common nutrient insufficiencies worldwide, particularly for those who live in places where sunlight is limited in winter or where they live life primarily inside. In fact, almost 1 in 4 Australians are low in vitamin D. Australia's #1 bone health and vitamin D brand, Austellan, recognises the importance of bone strength throughout our lives, from childhood, when our teeth and bones are still developing, right through to our older years, where bone health is still important. Their range of vitamin D and calcium supplements support various need states, maintaining adequate vitamin D levels in the body, plus helping increase dietary calcium absorption. There's also infant and kid-friendly formulas in drops, liquids and chewable formats. All are proudly Australian-made. Considering there are around 206 bones in an adult skeleton, they're actually pretty low maintenance. Just keep a healthy diet, regular physical exercise, and if required, supplements act as a bonus. See what I did there?
Sarah Davidson there on the importance of calcium and vitamin D for our bones. But too much vitamin D-soaked sunshine can be harmful. I think we know that all too well in Australia.
And it is that time of year, Jack, we start thinking about taking care of ourselves in the sun. And once again, unfortunately, it's men dragging the chain on this front. The Cancer Council tells us that men are twice as likely as women to die from melanoma.
Well, a lot of men do work outdoors and perhaps aren't so vigilant at the sun protection, Dars, or perhaps are a little less likely to go to the GP. So come on, blokes, slip, slop, slap.
The Cancer Council is urging all men to go and get their skin checked. They say that only 19% of men have had a skin check in the past 12 months, which is amazing.
Yeah, well, one man who's literally written the book on taking ownership of his own health is Aussie surf rider Tim Baker, who has stared down prostate cancer and written a book titled Patting the Shark.
Well, I'm a surfing writer by trade, which is a pretty unusual profession, and it's been a bit of a dream job in a lot of ways. You know, I often say I was kind of living the dream, you know, travelling and surfing and writing books about some of my heroes and a beautiful family, 2 young kids, living close to the beach. No complaints at all, you know, life was really good. And I distinctly remember having this thought like, you know, I think I have pretty close to a perfect life and I'm really grateful and I don't need any kind of wake-up call. You know, I really appreciate it. But of course, life doesn't always work that way.
Queenslander Tim Baker had just celebrated his 50th birthday when the results of a medical checkup brought his whole world crashing down.
I remember the date was July 7, 2015. I was diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer, which means it's sort of spread to the bone. Oncologists are pretty coy about giving definitive prognosis because, you know, they sometimes get accused of, you know, pointing the bone and, you know, seeding a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I was given the message that I could expect 5 years of reasonable health and that 6 would be exceptional. It felt like being smashed in the face with a baseball bat. I could almost remember a sense of like this physical force of just being belted in the face. And, you know, it's almost like one of those cartoon scenes where, you know, there's birds flying around and your eyes are rolling back in your head. I just felt so sort of sideswiped by it. And it took a long time for that sort of to really sink in.
Tim was completely blindsided by his diagnosis. But as he commenced a daunting combination of chemo and hormone therapy, he began to focus on doing all that he could to improve his outcomes.
I know it's a really loaded term these days to kind of like do your own research, especially when it comes to, you know, medical matters. But I guess being a journalist, I felt like I had a reasonable idea what were kind of credible sources and what weren't. I remember one of the first thoughts I had was to navigate this path ahead, I was going to have to be able to kind of quieten the anxious mind. And so meditation became really important. And then I overhauled my diet pretty much instantly. And exercise, I learned, is just super important for men going through treatment for prostate cancer, because hormone therapy, you know, it affects bone density, muscle mass, cardiovascular health, you know, heart health, all these things. And exercise is kind of the perfect antidote. I came up with my little self-care mantra, which is, you know, I've just got to remember to take my meds, MEDS, and that stands for meditation, exercise, diet and sleep. And they just sort of became the 4 pillars of my self-care. I just thought, well, if the prognosis is just based on a general population, there are no statistics around 50-year-old surfers who immediately transition to a plant-based diet and meditate like a monk and go surfing and do yoga and all these things. And yeah, for some reason, I just had this strong confidence and belief that I could do a whole lot better than, you know, what the medical mainstream would suggest.
8 years on from receiving his dire prognosis, Tim isn't just surviving. According to his doctors, he's thriving.
I'm still getting a really good response from the frontline treatment of hormone therapy, which is a great result and I think quite unusual. I've been lucky enough to use hormone therapy intermittently to sort of help mitigate the side effects. And so I feel really well. I'd still surf and travel and write and, you know, I'm a pretty active parent and all that kind of thing. I feel genuinely joyful most of the time, which is a lovely state to live in.
Melbourne oncologist Dr. Arun Azad said there's no question Tim's meds mantra has improved his prognosis.
For many patients, their treatment of their cancer just revolves around drug treatment, and that's understandable because without the drug treatment for metastatic prostate cancer, they're not going to get good outcomes and they're not going to survive. And sometimes I think even as doctors, we focus, you know, too much on that or just on that. But it is very important to look at the other aspects of patient care, and that includes self-care. Tim, by adopting these other lifestyle approaches, has been able to cope with the side effects of treatment and the burden of having a cancer diagnosis and therefore remain on the treatment for longer and therefore benefit. So it's absolutely been crucial to his outcome that he's been able to make these life changes over his journey of prostate cancer.
I mean, I feel incredibly grateful that I'm still here. You know, I have these quite unusual conversations, like with my GP, for example. I said to him recently, you know, this is all quite strange. Like, I didn't even know if I'd still be here. And he paused and looked at me and just looked me in the eye and said, I didn't think you'd still be here. I guess my simple message to doctors is when you're prescribing hormone therapy to men with prostate cancer, prescribe exercise, prescribe nutrition, you know, refer men to men's sexual health specialists, you know, provide that sort of supportive care that's going to help them have the best shot of good quality of life. You know, I trust in medical science to continue to come up with better treatment options while I keep myself in good nick in the meantime.
.4 million Australians between the ages of 16 and 85 are seeing a mental health professional. And you know what? That's a good thing. But it makes you reflect that the state of our mental well-being affects our outlook on life and our ability to get through the tough times. And critical to that is the state of our daily mood. Mood is a natural part of our emotional rhythm, and there's said to be 3 factors that affect our mood. Firstly, our biology, and that's our hormones and our brain chemicals. Secondly, there's our psychology, and that's our personality and the way we respond to things. And thirdly, there's our environment, and that could be illness or could be stress around us. Having ebbs and flows in our mood is, of course, completely normal, but thankfully the herbal world can provide support for healthy mood balance. Saffron is not only an exotic ingredient that provides colour and flavour to our cooking, it's also an important therapeutic herb. It helps to reduce symptoms of mild anxiety, it relieves symptoms of stress, and it also helps to support a refreshing sleep. There's also reishi. Reishi is a mushroom used in traditional Chinese medicine, and it helps to relieve symptoms of mental fatigue and relieve feelings of weakness. It calms both mind and spirit. Nutrients found in our everyday food can also contribute. Vitamin B5 helps our energy levels and our normal stress response in the body. Vitamin B6 is important for the function of a healthy nervous system and the production of neurotransmitters, which are our feel-good chemical messengers. And then there's zinc, which is important for the brain and cognitive function. So including these is as simple as getting a supplement, but look for one that's 100% Australian made and contains Afron, a specialised premium standardised extract of saffron that's been clinically trialled to support healthy mood in both adults and teens. It's important to talk to your healthcare practitioner if your mood is affecting your day-to-day life. And also remember that lifestyle choices can, of course, affect our mood like many aspects of our health. If you're having a low day, just be a little bit kinder to yourself.
Being kind to yourself and others is, of course, key to good mental health. And it really does apply in the sports field too, because it's where we learn respect, teamwork, fitness and fun.
Absolutely, for kids and parents as well. And it blows my mind, us, that parents still behave badly on the sidelines. In my daughter's footy, we take it very seriously. I have played the role of umpire escort, which is important, that role, because people abuse umpires, kids, coaches. It's not on.
Well, Jo, I think that's the best example to explain. We now have to roster parents on as escorts to protect 12 and 13-year-old kids from abuse and physical violence from other parents. But, Jo, on more than one occasion, I've seen the umpire escort doing the abusing of the 12 or 13 kids, 2-year-old kids. It is out of control, this, and we need to do something as a community to make it right.
Yeah, and the flow-on effect from that is that your kids don't continue with their sport, and also from a community point of view, fewer volunteers want to take part.
Yeah, plus it can land you in serious legal hot water if you're the offender.
That's why I'm so supportive of this program. Rod Campbell's doing an amazing job learning life through sport. It's about bringing respect and care back to the sporting field and also in life in general. You need to check it out. Rod, it's brilliant to see you. Our dads were great friends. They played AFL football against each other, or VFL football, your dad Graham and my dad David, and they ended up broadcasting sport together. They're both not with us anymore, but I suspect they'd be smiling, you and I catching up today, talking about something we're incredibly passionate about. As a father of 9 kids between us, junior sport's something we're pretty passionate about.
Yeah, it is. It's an area that we both share that passion for, as you said, Das, and I'm sure, yeah, our dads would think this is pretty incredible. You know, a generation down the track that we're there fighting the cause for kids in sport.
I want to talk about the problem that we both have identified and see, and that is parents' behaviour at junior sports escalated to a point where I would call it out of control. And Rod, you and I both think we need a paradigm shift and an education platform, and that's what you're bringing to the table. To set up the behaviour firstly, we just see this incredible trend of parents abusing junior umpires, of being over the top. Some of the stuff I've seen has been crazy, and we try and police and bring more rules in and ban and suspend bad behaviour, but I think you're onto something. I think education is the way forward.
Yeah, I think enforcement has a place, but it's not the solution, and there's no silver bullet, but the areas that I've worked in have been around attitude and behaviour, and you can see that paradigm shift happen really quickly. And I just am confident with this new program, which is called Learning Life Through Sport, that the values that espouses, it's about sportsmanship, respect and trying your hardest, that if we can bring that as a collective and have everyone buying into the same values, so getting leagues take that on board, that we can make a significant change and it can happen really quickly.
It makes enormous sense to me. It aligns with what I've been trying to do in my own sphere for a long period of time, but it had an immediate impact. Stuff like going over and meeting the coach before a game and shaking his hand and saying, hey, we're not going to question the umpire's decision today. A lot of these umpires at junior sport are 12, 13, 14-year-olds that are having a horrific experience themselves. So you're about respect for umpires, respect for the opposition, and it's making a big difference.
Yeah, and when we put our kids into junior sport, we like to think that the environment's going to be supportive and they're going to be safe and feel included. But I think we don't have the same opinion about our umpires, as an example, and we've inherited this behaviour where parents will come to a game, and whether it's at AFL level or even junior level, and they'll just argue umpires' decisions and yell out. And, you know, if the coaches aren't managing the behaviour of their kids, it can just get out of control. And a program like ours, once it's integrated right through, we can manage the behaviours, firstly, of our players, but also of our parents, and have them include in that building of relationships between a coach to his players, a coach to his parents, which can often be difficult, a coach with the umpires, developing that relationship. Like Darcy, our umpires should have fun as well. We want our kids to have fun. And building a relationship with the opposition coach, the opposition players. So we, in the Learning Life Through Sport space, like we give gifts of gratitude after a game, as an example, to the umpires to thank them for their efforts, and to the opposition team to thank them for playing against us.
You and I are both incredibly lucky. We had dads that played sport at the highest level, but not once did they overlay their world onto us. They didn't ever overcoach us. They didn't ever say anything negative. Probably what was conscious parenting. I don't think your dad understood what that meant, but through their own values, parented you and I. And I think what we're trying to say is there's an opportunity to pass that on to parents that are at junior sport. They're creating an environment that's become really toxic, and you can change the relationship with your kids just simply for mine is saying, I love watching you play. I'm in your corner. I love you being here. Regardless of ability, we can make a difference.
Yeah, and it's inherited behaviour, but we see it all the time, and it needs to stop. So we can blame the previous generations, but until we draw a line in the sand and we actually make a decision to make it better, things won't change. And we have that responsibility. We can empower people to behave in a different way. So it's about attitudes and behaviours, but we've got a new opportunity to learn a better way. We can all get involved and make it a much safer, much more enjoyable environment. As you said, you know, the best words you can say is, I love to watch you play at the end of a game, and just create an environment where kids really enjoy playing sport.
Junior sport should be the happiest, most fun thing that kids do every week, but it hasn't been the case. And we know kids are spending more time on their devices than ever before. There's more anxiety and mental health challenges. So we need kids being happy at junior sport. Parents have got to be re-educated. Your program, Learning Life Through Sport, is a game changer. Great stuff. I'm in your corner. Let's make it happen.
Sounds good, Das. Let's do it together.
Good to see you, mate.
A good diet is essential for overall health. However, it's only one part of the wellness jigsaw. Sadly, the nutritional value in food today has declined due to mass production. No matter how focused we are on eating right, things like unseasonal veggies, poor soils, and eating on the run is why we turn to supplements. One of the problems with regular vitamin supplements is that they're synthetic. This means that the actives are more difficult for the body to absorb. It's common for people who take iron supplements to experience side effects like stomach cramps and even some nausea. Vital's plant-based supplement is different. It's gentle on the stomach, as its key ingredient is derived from curry leaf, with no nasty synthetics or fillers added during the manufacturing process. It also contains acerola fruit to further enhance the absorption of iron, along with iron-rich foods such as broccoli, spinach and beetroot to further support the delivery of iron into your body. The Vital supplement range is also vegan friendly, and the packaging is ethical and environmentally sustainable. People have known about the benefits of a plant-based diet for years now, but you don't need to be vegan to enjoy the benefits of Vital plant-based supplements.
Well, Das, Jack, the sun's out, which for me means barbecue weather, and also one of my greatest joys, which is watching the pride my husband gets with a perfectly barbecued steak.
And I understand this from Daz. Can I give you a man rule? You never go to someone else's house if you're a man. Like, go to Daz's house and give him advice on how to cook on the barbecue. Even if he's torched the steak to within an inch of its life, you stay out of another man's way on that one.
Michael and I both love you. We fight about who's using the barbecue. And you know what? It turns out that Aussie women are right up there with the men in terms of our love of barbecue cooking.
And you might be surprised, Jake, I've got a stat for you on this one.
There's a stat for everything, Das.
Well, let me give it to you. The female barbecuing is on the rise big time. In the next 12 months, 320,000 females are expected to purchase a barbecue, along with the 390,000 males.
Why, though? Why not just hand it over to the men? It's one situation where I don't have to cook.
Well, it turns out you don't need to be near an open flame to get inspired. Here's Zoe and Heinzie on how to become king of the kitchen.
Zoe, do you know what a bachelor's handbag is? Let me give you a clue. It was the people's choice for the 2022 Macquarie Dictionary Word of the Year.
Ah, yes, the takeaway roast chicken. And this word came about because it doesn't require any cooking or prepping, and it comes in a bag with a handle.
I love it. And whilst we're not here to diss the humble roast chook, we think we've got some better ideas for those time poor or CBF single guys
and girls
who want the health without the fuss, those dishes, and of course cutting down on that wastage of leftovers. Introducing the Lazy Man Salmon Burrito Bowl.
Ooh, sounds delicious. And I've also got a good recipe for those peeps. My Greek breakfast muffins that you can actually have for lunch or dinner.
Love it. Now I'm using ready-made tinned salmon in extra virgin olive oil, along with things like cherry tomatoes, corn, avocado. And the real hero of this dish is the fact that you can swap any of these out for other ingredients that might be going off in the back of your fridge.
Ah, that's brilliant. Variety really is the spice of life and health. You've got all your essential nutrients covered, but you've also got protein and good fats.
Same with yours, but your recipe requires baking, Zoe. Not ideal for those who are lazy or time poor.
Are you joking? It's the easiest cooking method ever. You simply bung it all in a bowl, you give it a mix, and then you put it in the oven. Doesn't have to be a 5-course extravaganza. Simple can be delicious and healthy.
Well, I'm a man of simple pleasures, Zoe, so it's right up my alley.
Really enjoyed the positive mental health stories today on the House of Wellness, but I'm also up for a positive story about the planet.
Yes, and there is a bit of good news with a report from the United Nations that says the world can cut 80% of plastic pollution by the year 2040.
So they're calling it turning off the tap, and it's basically a roadmap to help eliminate plastic from the economy, the environment and our bodies, which is pretty incredible because I think at times the plastic problem can just seem overwhelming.
Sure can, Jack, and we've seen a lot of compostable packaging replace plastic, as well as better green waste systems in our house. I know having the separate food waste from general rubbish in our house has been a complete game changer.
What I'd like to see is that they stop using plastic for silly things. Like, why do we have those plastic little windows in our envelopes? We don't need that.
That's true. The thing that drives me crazy is all the plastic toys that my kids have and what the alternative to that actually is.
And I can never get my head around wrapping 2 pieces of fruit in plastic in a supermarket when you've got bags that are recyclable sitting next door. Well, that's all we've got time for today on the House of Wellness.
Check out Gerald Quigley and Luke Hines on House of Wellness Radio every Sunday.
Nice to spend the afternoon with Jackie Felgate and Joe Stanley. Thanks to our friends at Chemist Warehouse. We'll see you next time.